Lynette Oxley here for Tax Shack Tactical TV. We're here with Paul. We've got a new program today. Hopefully it works.
Yeah, new software.
Nice new software, yeah.
The previous one was doing all sorts of exciting things with cutting off bits and pieces and cutting the sound out. And okay, guys, hi. Thanks very much for listening to us.
Well, you're going to do most of the talking today.
And you'll see Lynette and I wearing our brand new club shirts today, which have GOSA Gun Buddies on the one sleeve and GOSA Girls on Fire on the other sleeve. These are shooting club shirts. Anyway, so exciting times. Last week the release of the much-awaited Constitutional Court judgment on the fidelity matter, to which GOSA was also amicus, a friend of the court. It went very well. So I'm supposed to be talking about jewels today. So let me explain to you what...
Not the stuff that we have on our fingers.
Not that stuff.
Okay.
So let me explain to you what I mean by that. So much was made in the SA Hunters matter of the obiter remark by Judge Frontline about, with regards to that firearms are a privilege, not a right in this country.
Which Gun-Free South Africa frozen to our faces the whole time.
Which Gun-Free South Africa have been chucking in our faces for the last few years. So an obiter is a casual remark, or not a casual, perhaps more than a casual remark, but it's a remark made in the course of the judgment, which doesn't relate to the matters which have been argued. So it's an opinion. Anyway, the drafting judge, whoever that is, throws an opinion into the mix and says he thinks this or that or the other. Something he has that there's been no argument laid on, so it doesn't really have legal weight, but it is persuasive, so it can persuade other judges one way or another. Nonetheless, so this was the judgment that we got last week was a 33-page judgment, detailed judgment, to say case dismissed.
Yeah.
It doesn't take you 33 pages to say case dismissed.
Yeah.
This thing was incredibly complex.
I'm sorry.
So
having a fun on the floor here.
Yes, he's now rolling around and growling. Okay. Sorry
about that.
So one of the things, so we have ever since then, we have ever since then been combing through this judgment.
Yeah.
We shot on Saturday with a friend of ours who's a very senior counsel, a senior advocate, acting judge, and he was saying that he's now going to be reading through this again and again and again and again to find other little obiters, little jewels that have been hidden away in this judgment. There's bags of stuff. The judges have declared.
And it was unanimous, eh?
Yeah, this was a unanimous judgment. Okay, so every single one of the judges in the Constitutional Court, the quorum of the court, got behind this judgment, even though it was written by Majid and Rogers. The rest of them signed on to it. Now he's licking my legs. One of the disadvantages of having bare legs in this office, the Rottweiler licks them obsessively. Anyway, no, Uji, no, Uji, enough, my boy. When he starts to tear the hair out, it's not fun. Okay, so there's a whole bunch of obiters scattered throughout this thing. One of the things is in interpretation, and I just want to read this to you quickly. I've got my cell phone here because I believe that people are going to be writing in. Where is this? Okay.
Somewhere there.
Yeah, I'm just looking for my. Okay. All right. So they go into words in a statute must be given the ordinary grammatical meaning, unless to do so would result in an absurdity. So what we've seen a lot of in the courts lately, and specifically from the police, we've seen a lot of interpretation happening. Yeah. Oh no, but this is not what they meant. If you take this interpretation, what the Constitutional Court here is saying specifically is,
Stop that.
stop your shit. It's the ordinary grammatical meaning that's important.
Don't look at something behind it.
This general principle is subject to 3 interrelated riders. Oopsie, he's going to play with his. Okay, would you give me the ratty little toy? Okay. This general principle is subject to 3 interrelated riders. A statute must be interpreted purposively. So you must look at what the purpose of the statute is. Is the statute to control control firearms in South Africa? Yeah. So then that's the reason for it. It's not for another purpose.
Yeah.
The relevant provision must be properly contextualized. So you've got to describe it. You can't take something completely out of context. It must be properly contextualized. And the statute must be construed consistently with the Constitution. So if it doesn't follow the Constitution, sorry, it's out the door. Meaning in such a way as to preserve its constitutional validity. Various propositions flow from this general principle and its riders. Among others, in the case of ambiguity, so when there could be 2 interpretations or more to something, a meaning that frustrates the apparent purpose of the statute or leads to results which are not business-like or sensible should not be preferred, where an interpretation which avoids these unfortunate consequences is reasonably possible. So they're bringing in things like business-like and sensible.
So what does that mean?
The qualification reasonably possible is a reminder that judges must guard against the temptation to substitute what they regard as reasonable, sensible, or businesslike for the words actually used. So again, they're bringing out what the act actually says. So these guys, when we get to these stupid things like we resolved with the any firearm licensed under the act, it relates to any firearm licensed under the Act. It's not, but the judges meant to say under this section.
Section 16 or Section 13 or whatever.
Bulldust. The judges said, the Act says any firearm, it's any firearm.
It's also
Don't try and invent stuff.
It's also you can use the firearm for any lawful purpose.
Any lawful purpose. Don't try and compose other stuff.
Okay.
But the judges are reminding of this. And that's very important. And if reasonably possible, a statute should be interpreted so as to avoid a lacuna. We've spoken about a lacuna before. A lacuna is a gap. So if things are interpreted in a certain way, it could end up with a situation which, oh, but hang on a second, there's a gap in the law here. There's a hole. The statute should be interpreted so as not to create that. Anyway, so we're very happy with the judgment. We're going through it. And I would encourage each of you out there, print out the judgment. It's on the GOSA Facebook group. Go through it indeed. Ask questions about it. You know, it's only by asking questions and questioning authority that we give purpose to our democratic
our freedoms.
To our freedoms, to our democratic constitution. The constitution is written. The laws are written for us, the people. We the people. And if we don't take an active part in that, if we're not active citizens, we're actually looking at a gift horse in the mouth.
Yeah.
So go through this, ask questions, but remember these, and put this is, sorry, the section that I read to you was paragraph 34. So go through paragraph 34, and you can apply paragraph 34 to any other legal circumstance in your life. Motor car licenses,
don't read into it.
anything. This is a constitutional court judgment, a unanimous constitutional court judgment. This paragraph and these sections can be quoted to support any other aspect of your life which requires legal interpretation.
You're right.
So this is a, guys, here the judges have gone way beyond what they were asked to do.
What's the story with the property, Paul? There was some. That's also
okay.
interesting.
So here's another interesting
one.
thing. So the judges made much of the difference between a license for possession, which is a firearm license. The firearm license that we have is a license for possession. It's so that you can take something into your possession. You can have it with you.
Yeah.
It doesn't impact on your ownership rights. You can own something and may not be able to possess it without a license or without a special permit or whatever it might be. The And the judges go in heavily on the property rights here. They make express, you can be deprived, you can have to surrender your property to the state. But it still stays, your ownership is still with you. It's still your property. Even though you've surrendered use of it to the state or possession of it to the state, it's still your damned property. And they bring this out in various ways, and they especially say with regards to firearms, if the firearms are surrendered to the state, you still own them. I see that Martin, in a letter that he wrote to the minister a couple of days ago, is starting to warm this up. He's starting to mitigate now for the minister, or to declare that firearms which were surrendered and forfeited in terms of the previous amnesties still belong to the owners. And that's going to be interesting.
Well, that's going to, what we call in Afrikaans, a tamaleki.
That's going to throw the cat amongst the pigeons. Because what will happen as a result of that, if firearms have been destroyed,
yes,
people are going to claim from the state.
Sure.
So this is going to end up in a train smash of note. And this is all stuff which the police have brought on themselves.
Yeah. So basically, it also now means we're waiting for directives from the police to deal with this.
The police now have to, because a policeman literally won't turn around without a directive, without his boss telling him that he can. So we're now sitting with a situation where there's a unanimous constitutional court
which is our highest
decision,
court.
Which is our highest court. It can't be overridden or countermanded by anybody.
Or appealed.
Or appealed. So we now have this constitutional judgment, and the police are now in default. The police have to find a way to bring themselves into compliance with the law.
So
this is the law.
So we don't know if they're going to say, can you hand it in as a dealer?
So it says also in this judgment, it says there's no doubt that when a license expires, it no longer exists, and you're in unlawful possession until you until you surrender it. It doesn't say that you need to surrender it to SAPS specifically. It says surrender to the state, and it says surrender in other places. So I believe that there's an opening here for the dealers to come forward and say, hang on a second.
We'll be able to help.
Look, dealers, in any case, every single firearm a dealer has in their stock is unlicensed. It's a not yet licensed firearm.
Yeah, it's in dealer stock.
So it's in dealer stock. So there's essentially no difference between that stock and a firearm which is now the license has expired. So why should the dealers not? The dealers are perfectly set up to do this. I mean, we can sign. It will come in as dealer stock, so it'll come in on a 350. It won't even come in on a 534 because possession is the person who has the owner who has it in his possession may not be in possession of it, so he has to surrender it. Or maybe the police have to bring out some kind of an interim measure. I don't know.
We don't know.
We know the police can't take the firearms into stock themselves because they don't have the space. There are already police stations where they're auditing them on the amnesty firearms and finding firearms missing.
Yeah.
So it's a disaster, and it's a disaster that was again created entirely by the police, by their willful misinterpretation of the act. They've placed themselves in a position where they are overburdened, and against our advice, we said to them, there's easier ways to sort this out, guys.
We always said the amnesty is not the way to go.
We always said, look, we had to advise using the amnesty after we lost our Supreme Court appeal action, because there was no other. Otherwise, you were subject to arrest. This has now put another colour on that as well. Yeah. So it's the law until it's not the law, and things have changed. It's a dynamic situation. So that's that. We're going through this still. We'll come out with more jewels that we've managed to find. If you guys can go through this, I mean, the more eyes that look at this, and the more minds that work on this, the better. If anybody out there in internet land can find a jewel for us, we'd appreciate it. We'll put your name up in lights. We'll give you a naughty badge. Yeah, so...
Any questions? No, I don't think so.
Ooh, let me check for questions
Before
quickly.
we go on to the next section?
No, there's nothing.
Okay.
Okay, so we want to deal with now let's talk about next week. Next week is going to be
crazy times.
It's going to be crazy mad. So we told you last week that we were waiting for specific court dates, that we would be in court on the Monday in order to be allocated a court for the hearing of the declarator. So this week we managed to get our court dates. We got it assigned to a judge, and the judge is so the declarator, we were assigned to Judge Adams, who's a judge of significant standing, and well versed, and he's practiced law for a long time, and he's a very sensible judge. So we hope that will be on the 8th. So we're in his court on the 8th. Immediately after that, another action which we're taking forward on behalf of one of our members, relating to Section 21 permits, the temporary authorization to possess, is coming up. So we have that in front of another judge a little bit later on the same day, on the Wednesday. So we're bouncing from one court to the next. It's going to be quite exciting from that perspective. We hope to come away with both of these cases are unopposed. Shock horror.
They can't change anything now, can they?
They could still pitch up on the courtroom steps and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, we forgot." And the courts typically allow them some latitude. I don't know if they're going to get that right this time, but still. So the declarator is a really simple thing. It's just tell us what this means. Don't just please, Mr. Judge, explain to us how this is supposed to be interpreted.
So basically, if you go back to what we've talked about, the ruling that's exactly what you're talking about. Take the language for what it stands.
Take the language. Don't try and invent. Don't try and compose. Just take the language for what it says. Yeah. So we're hopeful for that. We're very hopeful for that. We'll have a good outcome on that. And the declarator then tells us what a license is. Once we know what a license is, and it's almost, I don't want to put words in the judge's mouth, but it's almost unthinkable that the judges you never know. It's almost unthinkable that the license is anything other than the record on the computer system.
No,
because if you have a license card, you only get your license card once your license has been approved. Once your license has been approved, you are licensed. You get your card, you lose your card. Doesn't mean you're unlicensed. Your license is still there on the computer system. You just have to get another card. And in the meantime, the police give you a printout, which they stamp, and you take that with your receipt for your reprint, and that's your license until such time. That's your proof of license until such time as your new card is prepared. So the card is not the license. Quite obviously, it's not the license. It can't be the license. We need a judge to tell us this. We need a judge to say this, the license isn't the card, because the police are insisting that you have your license card before you can collect a firearm from a dealer. And that's silly, because the card is not the license.
Yeah.
All you're required to have is a license and some or other form of proof that the license exists for you. And that could be electronic, it could be the SMS that the police send you saying your license has been approved.
Yeah.
It could be that, because that's from the police. They can check that. Every single roadblock, every single policeman that pulls you over on the side of the road has the ability in his hands, in his radio, to radio to his control room and to confirm your license, the existence of your license. Every single one. So it's perfectly understandable. There should be no problem with this. Anyway, so we're hoping for that. We're hoping for the Section 21s to be successful as well.
What is it about the Section 21s? So
the police have been claiming for years that they can't issue Section 21s. That Section 21s are designed for foreign hunters, and all sorts of nonsense. So we need a judge to tell us what the actual act, what the act says.
Because that could also be an answer for the expired licenses as well.
This could jump in with the expired licenses. Does the Constitutional Court ruling mean that people who handed in their firearms for destruction can now claim compensation? Question from Mike. Mike, good question. Yeah, we don't know. That's the question Martin is asking now. We expect there will be legal consequences, but great, yeah. In fact, I think that was the question from last week. Sorry, guys. Can't read small print at this time. Okay, so those are the two cases. But that's Wednesday. Tuesday, our team is meeting with the Civil Secretary of Police. So the team will be myself, Tsepi, my fellow director, our legal representative, our external counsel, Larry Marks, our in-house counsel, Chris, GOSA Law, as well as one of our shooting club members also, the guy who wrote the 170-page response to the bill last year.
There is a YouTube program on that as well.
There's one of this channel's YouTube programs on that. So look up Ricky Mann.
Yeah.
So Ricky's coming with us next week, and now he's a research analyst. He's a specialist research analyst.
Yeah.
And he's gone into the background to the research, which is supposed to underpin this new amendment bill.
And he asks them
We are not going into the bilateral thing with the Secretary of Police. We're going into a meeting with the Secretary of Police in the midst of his bilateral meetings with other parties. We're going into to say to him, your research that you're touting to support this bill is worthless. It has no meaning because it was contrived. There's all sorts of professional research and analytical errors that you've committed, and these are them. And then we're going to say to them, so from last year this time, where the moment you let us know about the amendment bill, we said, where the hell did this come from? Here's a request for access to information.
And
we handed in our PI request. They've been ignoring our PI request steadfastly for a year now.
Why?
Every time we communicate, every time they communicate with us, we get back to them and say, thank you so much for the question. How are you progressing on our PI request? Thank you very much for the invitation. How are you progressing on our PI request? They've come back to us several times. They came back to us when they cancelled the webinar last year and said to us, okay, we've cancelled the webinar, so we don't need to accede to your PI request.
They don't want to tell us there's something wrong there.
So when somebody tries to hide something from you, it's generally not a good sign for their argument. It's generally not a good sign.
We still want that information.
We want to know why this bill. What made this bill necessary? Who pushed for it?
What meetings were held for it?
What meetings were held? Who pushed for it? Who did you contact? Because you didn't contact anybody in the firearms community.
Yeah.
And the Constitution requires that you consult with stakeholders. No, well, I don't believe they did. I think they did a complete in-house job. We want to know who ran the process. We know who ran the process. And we know that the person who ran the process has committed a conflict of interests which, well, it makes the conduct of the public protector look appropriate.
But yeah,
it's horrific. It's shocking, and we want them to come out with us. Only when they come out and admit this to us in papers can we take this further. We have to draw them out on this. And if we have to use this process, so we're going through there for a face-to-face meeting with the secretary and with the drafting team, by the way, we're not going to offer them any insights into our views on the paragraphs and sections of the amendment bill, because we believe the entire thing should be scrapped in its entirety. We're not going to be drawn into helping them fine-tune their bill.
Because the bill should just be scrapped.
The only fine-tuning that's required is to take it and drop it in the dustbin. We've got a bill that works perfectly as it is. It's got problems, but here we've sorted out problems. Here we've gotten to the bottom of a number of issues. We're starting to get to grips with this bill. That bill requires maybe a tiny little tweak here and there, but in general the bill actually works.
It's the administration of the bill that's the problem.
It's the administration, as the Wits School of Governance, which is the only proper research that was conducted by the Secretary. As the Wits School of Governance report said, don't look to the Firearms Control Act, don't look to amendments, look to policing.
That's the problem.
That's the issue. We've just had the release today of the crime stats for the
Terrific
first quarter. No, on everybody. I mean, the only thing that's gone down is house robberies and business robberies. Everything else is like 20% higher. And
the child murders and GBV is horrific.
It's just ridiculous. The police are just so bad at their job. We wish they would just focus on policing and leave all the stuff which is high tech. Leave it alone.
Yeah.
Leave firearm licensing alone. If you want to do anything, scrap firearm licensing. I don't think it'll put you in a worse position than you're at the moment. Anyway.
Is that it from your side?
That's pretty much all from us at the moment.
I just want to actually still from next week, Tuesday, the first of the GOSA Girls on Fire is going for the armorers courses, my ROs. So first 6 ladies are going on Tuesday. Then we've got another 6, and then we've got another 6. I think the last ones are in July. So yeah, it's
great. So all the lady ROs from the Girls on Fire that could or wanted to are getting Glock armorers qualifications.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting.
More empowerment, more better.
And we've got a young lady.
We found a young girl.
Yeah.
To sing the Scrappy song.
She's just busy at the Eisteddfod this week, but we should have something hopefully next week.
So we know she can sing.
So apparently, John that says she's got an absolutely amazing voice. So yeah, we can't wait to hear her sing the song, and then we're going to get some preschoolers involved as well.
And it's going to be this song.
No, unfortunately, the new program.
New program is.
Sorry, guys.
We're going to do that.
So hopefully.
So not the song at all.
We'll advertise it. Have a fantastic weekend.
I hope the recording and the broadcast went well.
We'll see.
At least. Guys, have a great weekend.
Thank you.